Codecademy is a site I return to often when I feel the need to challenge myself, or when I have an assignment that involves coding in any way. Overall, I find Codecademy a well-designed site. There are only two things that I fairly dislike about the way that it's set up. Let's look at how it works. You see, every user has a dashboard where one's current and future courses, site news, and other primary forms of information can be found. Let's look at the My Courses tab for more details. There are two different types of course listings on this page. At the top, you'll see a section called Paths. Paths are groups of related courses. I'll show you one as an example. The web development path, see here, is one of the more massive undertakings available on Codecademy. These are the courses that are included in this path. 14 individual courses which, when completed, qualify the user as a fledgling web developer. You'll notice that all but the first course are marked Pro. Codecademy has two different types of accounts, the free, or limited account, and the paid, Pro account. I have the Pro account because I wanted more out of the experience. It's not terribly expensive. It's $20 a month, and it includes more interactive content than the free account offers. Let's look inside one of these courses to see how they work. I'll show you the one that I've completed, Learn HTML. This is one of the free courses. I used it last semester to brush up on my HTML knowledge for one of my classes. By clicking on the View Detail button here, we can see what elements compose this course and jump to any of them we choose. This course starts with a video. It's pretty standard on Codecademy, but it wasn't always like this. When I first started using this site, it was less organized, much more limited, didn't offer pro content, and had no videos that I could find. A few years ago, they updated a lot of the content. I had completed 3 courses that the update reset to 0%, which kind of annoyed me. But it really made the site much better. So this is the current standard for Codecademy. The video, I'll click on here, is an embedded YouTube video. It does offer captions.
Hi, my name is Natalia Rodriguez, and on behalf of everyone here at Codecademy,
but they are auto captions, and they're often inaccurate. Still, it gives more of the gist than straight lip reading would, so that's a plus. When you hit Next, it takes you to the following section of the course. There are different types of content it might take you to, depending on where you are in the course. This one, because I've already completed the course, will only take me to quizzes. So I'll go back to the overview and select a lesson manually. And that's another thing I find useful about Codecademy's design, the ability to navigate to any part of a course. Mind you, I still think it counts as poor design that you can't do this from within the course after you've completed it, but I suppose most people don't go back and run a course from the beginning like I'm doing now. The average module in these courses is laid out like this. The left-hand column shows the lesson text and the instructions. The middle column is where you type your code, and the right-hand column displays the code as a web browser would. And here we hit one of the two things I consider really poor design for a site like this. The coding all takes place within Codecademy's coding environment, and it does not, the last time I checked, teach you how to code outside of Codecademy. I ran into this trouble the first time I went through the HTML, CSS courses, and then wanted to test out my skills in the real world. It took a lengthy Google search and some outside reading before I taught myself what I wanted to know. I code in Atom, by the way, not that anyone's terribly interested. But that aside, let's try out one of these lessons. You'll see that the explanatory text scrolls down to a set of instructions at the end. And of course the instructions for the first lesson here are really simple. It says, in the code editor to the right, type your name in between H1 and close H1, and then press run. And you can see I've already done this. But I could put in just about anything here. Like that absurdly long name from a Monty Python sketch, and press run, and it appears in the right-hand column like so. Then we hit next to move on to the next module. The other thing that I kind of dislike about the design is more cognitive than aesthetic. The left-hand column can get very verbose. Although this has gotten much better since the update. Before the update, you could end up scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and by the time you got to the instructions, you couldn't remember what you'd read at the beginning, which is usually what the first instruction covers, sadly enough. Yes, you can scroll all the way back up and up and up to review, but it's just awkward. I usually scrolled to the bottom, looked at the instructions first, and then went up to the top to see what I actually needed out of all that verbiage. But as I said, this got better after the update. The images are actually more instructive than the text, as you see here. It shows you what the code needs to look like. The problem is, it's really easy to cheat off the images without actually learning the principles, so it's a mixed blessing. I said earlier that the Pro account offers more interactive content than the free account, and I'll show you a little bit of what I meant by that. If we go back to the overview again and open up the details on this Learn HTML course, we can see it consists of 1 video, 3 lessons, 2 projects, and 3 quizzes. It's the projects and the quizzes are the extra content available through the Pro account. Let's look at one of the projects. The fashion blog incorporates all of the elements that were covered in the previous lessons, and it does it in an orderly checklist type manner. It keeps the project from overwhelming the learner, and it even has hints between the steps, although I never found the hints actually addressing what I was stuck on, so I never found them terribly helpful. But you don't need to come up with any of this content yourself. It's all in the instructions. I found that helpful in giving me a more realistic idea of what it took to code an entire website, albeit a simple one. Now, the quizzes are multiple choice. I'll show you one here. This is what it looks like when you get an answer correct. This is what it looks like when you get an answer wrong. So it makes it really clear, not only that you got it wrong, but which one was the correct one, which is really helpful. And when you get to the end, I can't show you because I would have to go through this entire quiz, which I don't want to do on camera. It gives you your percentage and a chance to retake the quiz if you like, or to move on to the next section of the course. On the whole, I think the design behind Codecademy is pretty good. Obviously, it has all the limitations of your average massive open online course, or MOOC, in that there's no instructor, there are no fellow students to interact with, but it does have a community. I'll show you here. It's got the online forum style. Here you can connect with countless others for help. See, get help. For feedback on your code. I've seen posts that said, this is what I've put in. Can anybody tell me what I did wrong? Or, is there a better way to do this? And you can even just chat. Anything code related. And You probably guessed, I do not avail myself of this feature very often, but it is there. Codecademy takes a lot of the intimidation out of code for people who are starting from zero, as I did. And I think by itself, that is good learning design.